In recent years, a concerning trend has emerged regarding the educational and developmental outcomes of boys and young men in the United States. Research indicates that these young males are not only struggling academically but also facing significant challenges in their mental health and transitions into adulthood. As their female counterparts increasingly excel in various domains, boys are left grappling with feelings of inadequacy and disconnection, prompting researchers and educators to delve deeper into the underlying causes of this gender disparity. According to a report by Claire Kane Miller in the New York Times, boys are exhibiting troubling signs across a range of indicators including educational achievement and mental health. The data reveals that boys in the U.S. tend to lag behind girls in terms of academic readiness from kindergarten through high school. For instance, a Brookings Institution analysis shows that only 83% of boys graduate high school on time compared to 89% of girls. In higher education, the disparity widens, with just 57% of recent male high school graduates enrolling in college, a marginal increase from 54% in 1960. In contrast, female college enrollment has surged to 66%, up from 38% over the same period. The educational landscape has evolved in ways that researchers believe may disadvantage boys. Schools today often emphasize academic performance earlier in the educational journey, which can be particularly challenging for boys who generally mature at a slower pace than girls. The behavioral expectations within classrooms frequently lead to boys being labeled as troublemakers, further exacerbating their educational struggles. Richard Reeves, president of the American Institute for Boys and Men, notes that while girls are indeed accelerating, the educational system itself may not be as conducive to boys' learning styles as it could be. Mental health is another critical area where boys are facing unique challenges. Data from the Child and Adolescent Health Measurement Initiative reveals that 28% of boys aged 3 to 17 have a mental health issue compared to 23% of girls. Boys are also twice as likely to be diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder (ADHD) or autism, although experts caution that these conditions might be underdiagnosed in girls. The prevailing societal expectations for boys to exhibit stoicism often result in their mental health struggles manifesting as behavioral issues, leading to a perception of boys as more disruptive in classroom settings. Transitioning into adulthood presents additional hurdles for young men. Census data indicates that a growing number of men aged 25 to 34 are living with their parents, 19%, up from 14% in 1983. This trend reflects a broader cultural shift where traditional milestones such as marriage and home ownership are being delayed. The labor market dynamics also reveal a stark divergence between men and women, with men's labor force participation declining steadily. In 1975, 94% of men aged 25 to 54 were in the labor force, a figure that has dropped to 89% today, while women's participation has risen significantly from 55% to 78%. The economic landscape has further complicated the challenges facing young men. Many of the jobs traditionally held by men, particularly in manual labor, have diminished, while women have increasingly filled roles in service-oriented sectors, leading to an imbalance in job availability and economic opportunity. This evolving workplace reality has fostered a sense of disconnection among young men, many of whom feel undervalued and uncertain about their futures. As these trends continue to unfold, there is a growing recognition of the need to address the unique challenges boys and young men face. Niobe Way, a professor of developmental psychology at New York University, emphasizes the importance of acknowledging boys' struggles and providing them with the support they need to thrive. Boys and young men are starving just like everybody else to be seen as they see themselves as good people, Way notes, highlighting the necessity for a cultural shift that recognizes their potential and nurtures their development. In conclusion, the data paints a sobering picture of the current state of boys and young men in the U.S., underscoring the urgent need for systemic changes in education, mental health support, and workforce development. As society grapples with these disparities, the challenge will be to create environments that enable all young people, regardless of gender, to reach their full potential. Future initiatives aimed at addressing these issues could yield significant benefits not only for boys and young men but for society as a whole. In a significant shift in policy, the Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) has announced plans to weaken regulations designed to limit the presence of so-called forever chemicals in drinking water. These chemicals, known scientifically as per and polyfluoroalkyl substances (PFAS), have garnered widespread concern due to their persistence in the environment and potential health risks including cancer and liver damage. The decision, made public on May 14, 2025, has sparked a considerable backlash from environmental advocates and public health experts, who argue that the move undermines years of progress in safeguarding water quality. The EPA's proposed changes come amidst a broader context of regulatory rollbacks that have characterized recent administrations. The agency has indicated that the revised rules will provide greater flexibility to states in managing PFAS levels, allowing for a range of approaches rather than a one-size-fits-all federal standard. We believe that states should have the autonomy to tailor their regulations to fit their specific needs, an EPA spokesperson stated. However, critics argue that this approach could lead to inconsistent safety standards across the country, potentially exposing vulnerable populations to harmful levels of these chemicals. Data from various studies have revealed alarming levels of PFAS contamination in drinking water supplies across the United States. A report by the Environmental Working Group indicated that nearly 200 million Americans may be drinking water contaminated with these substances, raising urgent questions about public health implications. This is not just a bureaucratic change, it's a matter of life and death for many communities, said Dr. Sarah Katz, a public health expert. We cannot afford to take a step backwards in protecting our drinking water. The implications of this decision extend beyond public health. The weakening of PFAS regulations could also impact various industries including agriculture and water utilities that have invested in treatment technologies to comply with existing standards. Environmental organizations are mobilizing to challenge the EPA's decision, arguing that it contradicts the agency's mission to protect human health and the environment. This is a direct attack on science and public health, stated Maria Lopez, a spokesperson for the Clean Water Coalition. We will fight this decision in every legal avenue available. As the debate unfolds, the future of PFAS regulation remains uncertain. The EPA's proposed changes will undergo a public comment period during which stakeholders from various sectors will voice their opinions, potentially influencing the final outcome. Furthermore, as states navigate these regulatory changes, the potential for a patchwork of standards could complicate efforts to ensure safe drinking water for all Americans. In conclusion, the EPA's decision to weaken regulations on forever chemicals marks a critical juncture in the ongoing struggle to balance environmental protection with regulatory flexibility. As public awareness grows regarding the risks associated with PFAS, it remains to be seen how this policy shift will affect both public health outcomes and the broader regulatory landscape in the years to come. With advocacy groups gearing up for a fight, the coming months will be pivotal in shaping the future of drinking water safety in the United States. In a significant shift in retirement investment strategy, a leading 401k provider has announced plans to include private market investments within its retirement portfolios. This move, reported by the Wall Street Journal, is poised to reshape the landscape of retirement savings, offering participants potentially higher returns at a time when traditional investment options yield modest growth. This decision comes amid a growing trend among financial institutions to diversify investment offerings, particularly as interest rates remain low and economic uncertainty lingers. By allowing private equity and venture capital investments in retirement accounts, the company aims to tap into asset classes that have historically outperformed public markets over the long term. As noted in the report, private investments can provide participants with access to alternative growth opportunities, typically reserved for accredited investors. The inclusion of private market investments in retirement portfolios is a game changer, said a spokesperson for the firm. We believe this will empower our clients to take advantage of a broader range of investment strategies, ultimately enhancing their retirement outcomes. This sentiment reflects a growing recognition among financial experts that the traditional 60-40 portfolio, 60% stocks and 40% bonds, may no longer suffice for those seeking substantial growth. However, this initiative does come with its challenges. Private market investments often entail higher risks and lower liquidity, which could complicate withdrawals during times of financial need. Critics argue that many 401k participants may not fully understand the complexities involved in such investments, raising concerns about the adequacy of investor education surrounding these options. In another realm of innovation, Baidu, the Chinese tech giant, is eyeing a European launch for its driverless taxi service. As reported, Baidu is preparing to unveil its autonomous vehicle technology in select European cities, aiming to compete in a rapidly evolving market. The company has made significant strides in its autonomous driving capabilities, with extensive testing conducted in China. Baidu's foray into Europe underscores a broader trend of Asian tech firms expanding their footprint in Western markets where demand for innovative transportation solutions is on the rise. While Baidu's ambitions are ambitious, the regulatory landscape in Europe presents a formidable hurdle. The continent's stringent regulations on autonomous vehicles could pose challenges to the rollout of such services. Nevertheless, Baidu's CEO has expressed confidence in the company's plans, stating, "We are committed to bringing our cutting-edge technology to Europe and believe it will resonate with consumers seeking safer and more efficient transportation options." In the backdrop of these developments, the technology sector faces other challenges. Notably, the impact of U.S. tariffs on major companies. Sony Group recently projected a decline in annual profit, largely due to increased tariffs imposed on its products. The company's revised outlook highlights the ongoing tension in international trade, particularly between the U.S. and Asia. "We are navigating a complex environment that continues to evolve," a Sony executive commented, emphasizing the company's proactive measures to adapt to these market conditions. As these stories unfold, the implications for investors and consumers alike are profound. The integration of private markets and retirement planning could mark a pivotal change in how individuals approach their savings, while Baidu's European ambitions could herald a new era of transportation technology. Simultaneously, the ongoing trade issues underscore the need for companies to remain agile and resilient in the face of external pressures. As the landscape continues to shift, stakeholders will be watching closely for how these initiatives develop and the long-term impacts they may have on the global market. The European Union is poised to significantly increase tariffs on Ukrainian imports, a move that comes at a critical juncture for Kyiv as it continues to grapple with the ramifications of Russia's relentless aggression. This decision marks a departure from the special trade arrangements that have allowed most Ukrainian goods to enter the EU duty-free, a policy that was temporarily instituted in response to the Russian invasion in 2022. The impending changes to trade policy have sparked concern among Ukrainian officials and farmers, who feared that the financial consequences could be devastating for their economy. The push to impose higher tariffs has been largely driven by Poland, which has advocated for protective measures to shield its domestic agricultural sector from what it perceives as the negative impacts of Ukrainian imports. This has led to a proposed transition that would drastically reduce tariff-free quotas for key agricultural exports, a lifeline for Ukrainian farmers reliant on access to European markets. The European Commission's spokesperson confirmed that the existing duty-free arrangements, set to expire on June 6, will not be renewed as the EU works to update its trade agreement with Ukraine. Ukrainian officials have voiced strong opposition to the impending tariff increases. Mikhailo Noarian, a trade representative for Ukraine's Employers Federation, lamented, "It's a huge step back. What we see now is a lack of understanding." The Ukrainian government estimates that reverting to pre-war trade conditions could result in a staggering annual revenue loss of approximately €3.5 billion. The proposed transitional measures would reduce the annual maize quota from 4.7 million tons to just 650,000 tons, while other products like poultry and sugar would also face significant cuts. The trade tensions are compounded by the ongoing political dynamics within the EU, particularly in Poland, where the issue of Ukrainian imports has taken center stage ahead of upcoming presidential elections. The Polish government has previously imposed unilateral bans on Ukrainian grain and has pushed for the EU to delay negotiations with Kyiv to avoid potential backlash from nationalist opposition candidates. As the EU navigates this complex landscape, the chair of the European Parliament's Trade Committee, Bernd Lange, criticized the Commission for allowing the situation to deteriorate. "It will take at least until October to find a solution," he stated, expressing frustration over the Commission's handling of the trade talks, which many in Ukraine view as a betrayal at a time when solidarity is crucial. The EU's decision to impose higher tariffs on Ukrainian imports could have far-reaching implications not only for Ukraine's economy but also for the stability of the broader region. With many Ukrainian farmers already struggling to compete in the market, the new tariffs could exacerbate existing economic woes and hinder Kyiv's recovery efforts in the wake of the ongoing conflict. Looking ahead, the situation underscores the delicate balance the EU must strike between supporting Ukraine and addressing the concerns of its own member states. As the June deadline looms, the stakes are high, and the decisions made in the coming weeks will likely shape the future of EU-Ukrainian relations and the broader geopolitical landscape in Eastern Europe. The potential for a return to pre-war trade conditions looms large, and the economic ramifications for Ukraine could be felt for years to come. In a striking revelation from recent research, a gender gap in greenhouse gas emissions has emerged as a significant concern, primarily driven by men's proclivity for car usage and meat consumption. A comprehensive study conducted in France, which surveyed 15,000 participants, highlights that men are responsible for 26% more pollution compared to women, largely due to their dietary choices and transportation habits. The study, co-authored by Ondine Berland from the London School of Economics, emphasizes the role of traditional gender norms in shaping these behaviors. Our results suggest that traditional gender norms, particularly those linking masculinity with red meat consumption and car use, play a significant role in shaping individual carbon footprints, Berland stated. After adjusting for factors such as caloric intake and travel distance, the gap narrows to 18%, indicating that the most substantial contributors to emissions are indeed linked to lifestyle choices predominantly favored by men. In examining the specific behaviors responsible for this emissions disparity, the researchers noted that the consumption of red meat and reliance on cars account for nearly all remaining differences in pollution levels. Interestingly, the study did not find any significant emissions gap related to air travel, suggesting that men do not disproportionately fly more than women. This finding aligns with previous research from Sweden, which indicated that men's spending habits contribute to 16% more climate heating emissions than those of women. Marion Laroutier, another co-author of the study, pointed out that the disparity in carbon footprints between men and women in France is comparable to the difference observed between high-income and lower-income individuals. She noted, "I think it's quite striking that the difference in carbon footprint in food and transport use in France between men and women is around the same as the difference we estimate for high-income people compared to lower-income people." The implications of these findings are profound, particularly as efforts to mitigate climate change intensify. Recommendations for reducing carbon emissions typically include adopting plant-based diets, reducing car use, and limiting air travel. However, such measures have sparked backlash from some segments of society who perceive these changes as assaults on traditional masculinity. Terms like soy boy, used by certain political figures and influencers, reflect a cultural resistance to altering dietary practices associated with masculinity. Interestingly, the study also suggests that the gender differences in emissions may explain why women generally exhibit greater concern about climate change. Laroutier posits that the higher personal cost of reducing emissions may lead men to evade confronting the realities of the climate crisis. Conversely, women's heightened awareness of climate issues could foster a greater inclination towards adopting eco-friendly practices. As society grapples with the urgent need for climate action, understanding the underlying factors that drive emissions disparities is crucial. The study underscores the importance of addressing traditional gender norms and societal expectations that influence personal choices around transportation and diet. Future research will be essential to explore the extent to which these differences in carbon footprints are shaped by gendered behaviors and the implications for collective climate action. As we move forward, fostering a more inclusive dialogue about sustainable practices that transcend gender norms could be pivotal in achieving meaningful reductions in global emissions. In a remarkable display of athletic prowess, Streator High School's Maya Zapata has been named the Times Athlete of the Week, capturing a staggering 60.3% of the 239 votes cast in an online ballot. This recognition marks Zapata's second time earning this title, previously winning in 2024, and highlights her exceptional performance on the field. During the past week, the Bulldogs' leadoff hitter demonstrated her formidable skills by achieving an impressive 8 for 10 batting average, scoring 6 runs, driving in 7 RBIs, and notably hitting an inside-the-park grand slam. Zapata's achievement is particularly noteworthy given the competitive nature of high school softball. When asked about her unforgettable grand slam, she reflected, "I never thought I would hit an inside-the-park grand slam. Especially in high school. When I picked up coach at third and he gave me the green light to go, it felt really rewarding to earn those runs." Her ability to capitalize on opportunities not only exemplifies her athleticism but also her understanding of the game. In addition to her accomplishments on the diamond, Zapata has also made significant decisions regarding her future. She recently committed to play volleyball at Illinois Valley Community College, a choice that she says aligns with her academic and personal goals. "IVCC checked all of my boxes in order to pursue my chosen career of dental hygiene, and it allows me to be closer to my family while still in school," she explained. This decision was not made lightly, as the talented athlete expressed the difficulty of choosing between volleyball and softball, a sport she has cherished since childhood. Zapata's journey reflects a balance of dedication to sports and academic aspirations, a theme echoed in her responses during a recent Q&A session. When asked about her future, she shared, "I'm excited to see where my new path takes me in college." In a lighthearted moment, she also revealed her affinity for music, choosing to see country star Luke Bryan in a tropical location if given the chance, in her favorite movie, The Parent Trap, which she admits to watching nearly 100 times. Her community involvement and sportsmanship have not gone unnoticed. Zapata's coach and teammates have praised her positive influence on the team, underscoring her leadership qualities. As she continues her high school career, she looks forward to enjoying summer with friends and refining her skills on the field. As Zapata navigates her final months at Streator High School, her story serves as an inspiration to younger athletes and students alike. Her commitment to both athletics and academics exemplifies the spirit of determination and resilience. With her college plans set and her athletic career continuing to flourish, it will be exciting to see how Maya Zapata's journey unfolds in the coming years.